you're not with the wrong station. We are still on Radio 4 and BBC Sounds, but it is Johnnie Walker's last time fronting Sounds of the 70s on Radio 2 tomorrow. It's a show that goes back more than 50 years. He is 79 years young, and he is not retiring because of his age, but because he's had a serious lung condition which has made broadcasting harder. But on this last weekend, I'm delighted to say that he's with us. Good morning, Johnnie. Welcome.
Michelle, thank you very much. Good morning to you.
How does it feel to have reached this milestone and this moment?
Well, I sort of over the years guessed it would come, but I'd never really thought about it. So now it's here, and obviously I'm thinking about it. Mixed emotions, but mostly one of sadness, really. I mean, myself and the radio listeners over the years, we've done an awful lot of living together. And so, we've been through a lot of experiences. So we've developed a very close bond, really.
Yes.
I get cards from people saying, "You're the friend I've never met," and things like that. So it will be sad to say goodbye.
Yes, and I know you've already had the last episode of The Rock Show yesterday, so Sounds of the 70s, your last time fronting that is tomorrow. How do you decide what goes into a final show?
Well, I thought, normally there's quite a few listener requests. And I thought, well, hang on, my last show, I'm going to choose all the music. So basically, I'm putting in all my favourites. So that's the way I'm going to do it for the last one.
And Johnnie, how's radio changed in all those years you've been on it?
Well, Nick, when I started, I had to come down to where you are. We had to take us pirate DJs took the 8:30 train from Liverpool Street to Ipswich, where we got on a minibus to Harwich, and then took the journey out to international waters, because the only way to get to work back then really was to sit on a ship 3.5 miles out to sea. So, I mean, the biggest change that's happened is there's a lot more places to work now, which is very good in terms of competition.
But I say this cautiously, Johnnie. We get a few people from telly who think they're radio presenters, don't we? I'm told you're not altogether an approver of that.
I'm not a big fan of that, actually. I think it always used to be you learned your radio craft. A lot of people started off on local stations and gradually sort of worked their way up. And I think nowadays it seems to be the way to get a radio show is to get a television one first. So, and they don't always, because you're good on TV doesn't automatically mean you're going to be good on the radio. But that's the way it is. We're in the age of celebrity.
I feel it's a bit close to home for me, Johnnie, that, because I did come to this show having mostly worked in television, but point absolutely taken. How important has that connection with the listeners been from you over the years? You talked about the requests for this show, but of course you've had that all along. Did the listeners sometimes suggest to you like tracks you'd forgotten yourself?
Yeah, no, they're definitely. I mean, last week there was one that I'd actually chosen for a record of the week that I'd forgotten all about because it wasn't a hit. And if they're not a hit, they're not in any reference books or anything. By an Australian called Kevin Johnson. Rock and Roll, I Gave You the Best Years of My Life. And it was lovely to play that again. So that was thanks to a listener. By the way, before I go, I've been going through my radio stuff, and there's a little gadget I had on drive time, which I used to use. It's about the size of a TV remote. And I'm just offering it to a Today producer, because if there's a journalist messes up the intro to a new item, you've got this button. Go back and start again. and then this is the Nick Robinson special. Get a move on.
I don't know what you mean, Johnnie Walker. I'm going to move us on because there's one story I really want you to tell our listeners, which I didn't know, which is, if it hadn't been for you, one of the greatest ever songs, Walk on the Wild Side, Lou Reed, might never have been the hit it was.
Yeah, no, I used to like to pick a record of the week that sort of challenged the radio sort of one mores of the time, really. So but Walk on the Wild Side was the perfect one. He shaved his legs, and he was the she. Hey, babe, take a walk on the wild side. And there wasn't much gender swapping going on in Bromley, where most producers seem to live. So it kind of went right over their heads. So it was the Daily Mail who rang up on the Wednesday, said Johnnie Walker should not be playing this record. It should be banned. So they had a meeting and they thought, well, we can't ban it now. He's played it 3 times. So I carried on and played it. And then it was years later, it became a hit because it had a fantastic, it was just a brilliantly cool record. And then it was about, so I don't know, 20 odd years later, after several difficult interviews with Lou Reed, he's a guest on my Drive Time show. And he said, my career was in the dump. I'd left the Velvet Underground, made a lousy album. He said, and then I made another album, and some DJ in Europe started playing Walk on the Wild Side over and over again. And I said, yeah, Lou, that was me. So he sort of sat back in his cool, laconic way and said, oh, so it was you, Johnnie Walker. You're the one that's been paying my rent all these years. So, of course, we became firm friends after that.
Oh, Johnnie, congratulations on everything over the years, and we will miss you very much. But, of course, we'll be able to hear you on the show tomorrow between 3 and 5 on Radio 2. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
He is.